Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Factorio Workshop with Zuri.
Greetings.
And we are here going to demonstrate the rainbow belt, fruit belt, whatever you want to call it, setup that seems to be talked about a lot and possibly pretty popular, although we can't for the life of us figure out why, because there are quite a few problems with it. And we're going to go over this right now, really. We're researching modules, which, just a quick note before we get into it here, it is only red and green, and we do have all four sciences on the belt, but I think this is a good example because a lot of people actually don't get modules until pretty late, and it's entirely possible that in a real game you would have blue and even purple science before you bother with modules, so I think that this is a realistic example. And
perfect example here. That these two aren't getting green for some reason. It's 3 now. It goes to 4 sometimes. It jams up. It just doesn't work as well as you'd think.
Yeah, now, obviously, if you were researching something with, like, all 4 science types, or, you know, red, green, and blue, it might work a bit better, but I'm sure this would still happen once in a while. And it's still entirely possible, like we said, that you would be researching some red and green stuff after you have these packs on the belt.
Or even just because it has one inserter, if the square that's grabbing from doesn't have the pack that it needs, it just will never insert.
Exactly. Now, could this be fixed by perhaps adding like 3 inserters to each, or 2 inserters at least to each thing?
Well, that'll lessen the problem, make it less likely, but it'll never mitigate it completely. It'll still be a problem that happens.
Right. And you were saying, you had a good point about stuff that uses loops not being the best idea.
Yeah, pretty much anything that requires a loop for it to work probably isn't the best design choice.
Right. And we were discussing that, you know, I mean, at least for me personally, I don't see a reason to do this. The only reason I can think of for even doing this to begin with is A, you just like the idea and it looks cool, which sure, I mean, it's your factory, whatever, you know, do play however you want. Or you're trying to save space, but me and Zuri discussed it, and really, this isn't saving space, opposed to just using 2 belts down the middle with red and green on one and blue and purple on another just normally.
Yeah, I don't judge people on their aesthetics, but the min-max reason people use this, again, is for saving space. You only use 1 belt, but it doesn't really save space. You have the mechanisms and feedback loops, which increase the total space used to the point where you might as well just use, you know, half a belt per item and let it go.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, again, you know, obviously you would have had normal armor by now. Maybe you wouldn't have modular armor, who knows? And you can see, say you didn't have modular armor for some reason, you were on peaceful or something, none of these are working. Half of this setup was not working because there was no red science getting to it. And yeah, now I know there's going to be people saying, or thinking at least, that, you know, well, if you had all 4 sciences on here, you probably wouldn't be researching just red and green. Well, that may not be the case for everybody. And, you know, if you're using this setup and are researching lower cost sciences with just 2 types or whatever, you're going to run into this problem. And really, if you're doing this with like just 2 types of science or something, because you can get this, like the circuit network and stuff need to build this with just red and green. If you're doing it with just red and green, there's like no point, because I mean you're only using 2 science packs. Like how much does it really need to divide it up evenly, right? You could just have half of a belt be red and half be green like normal, and it would work perfectly fine.
Yes. Yeah, not fond of this design at all. There are ways to improve it to make it work slightly better, but then you're getting into a lot of the network design things and wiring, and make sure you have a you're fully counting like the entire belt to make sure you're not overfeeding it any one thing. So it's doable, but at that point where you're adding that much complexity to something that should be as simple as research, you're over engineering it a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, so just for a quick demonstration, right? If people wanted to improve this, before you were messing around, Zuri, with just adding like more sensors on this belt.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, you can see he's adding more, and then were you just setting it, like setting these to be the same as these other ones, or?
They should already be set because it copies or it saves the belt wire condition even if you disconnect the wire.
They don't look set to me, but like it says connected to network, but there's no mode of operation, at least on my screen. There we go.
They should be read belt contents.
Yeah,
and I guess it
changed.
Did delete the settings when I removed the wires earlier.
No worries. So, yeah, you would just add more of these and set them to the same as this one was, which is read contents, and this should help improve it a little bit, but it's still inherently going to have some issues. And, you know, even if you are researching something with, say, red, green, and blue, but you have purple on here, it's still possible, right, Zuri, that you would end up with an issue where a lab or even several would be starved of something?
Yeah, even at full, because, again, all you have to do is have there not be a pack where you need it, and it sort of won't grab, and it'll just jam up.
Yeah.
Let's say this fills up with purple and doesn't need to grab purple anymore, but for some reason there's only purple on the belt here that it can grab. It just won't do anything.
Yeah, and that actually brings up another good point that, you know, I just thought of is when you finish a research, right?
This is hilarious. Do you see this situation we're in right now?
Well, there's like no red science packs in here.
There's no reds on the bottom. There's no greens on the top within range of the inserters, so it just completely stopped.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, here you go, guys. Here you go. This is what happens. And again, I'm saying it one more time because I know there's people who are going to be questioning it. It's entirely possible you would be researching red and green science stuff still, even once you have blue or even blue and purple. You know, because
it's still possible for this to happen if you're researching all four. Like, instead of being top and bottom red and green, you can have, like, these be red, these be green, these be blue, these be purple that are starved, and it just will stop.
Yep.
It's not likely, but it's possible. And then you're like, what happened to my science?
Yeah, exactly. So here you go. This is what can happen. And another point, you know, I thought of a minute ago is when Zuri mentioned, you know, the pack has to be on the pretty much the exact spot where the inserter is. And you have to realize that, like, when you stop a research, so say you researched something with, like, you know, red and green or whatever, and this had a lot of red and green on it, there's all this space, like 90% of this belt is not where an inserter is, right? I mean, there's all this belt where there's nothing here. So then if you switch researches to something that requires, like, a third type, there's going to be all this stuff on the belt that doesn't have that type you need, and then none of these labs will work while it, like, slowly cycles through here from maybe one lab pulling what it actually needs until it actually gets the full mix of packs back on here.
That's exactly right. So sometimes the old ways are the best ways. And this was incredibly popular, and people were in love with it for a while. I didn't get it because I could see this problem happening.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't quite planned, but this is just a perfect example. I mean, everything stopped, and there's no way to fix it aside from actually manually walking over here and, like, picking up the stuff or, like, you know, doing something yourself to fix this, which you shouldn't really be having to do for your science to work.
Yeah, it's Factorio. You shouldn't have to automatically adjust or manually adjust things. That should be automatic.
Yep. And there you go, guys. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. I did forget to mention at the beginning, my apologies. this is a save file that was submitted to us by CompBoy. I don't believe he's the creator of this. He just said that he had a save file where he played around with it. Since we couldn't find a blueprint, he was kind enough to submit this. I'm actually not sure who the creator is. I couldn't find it because it's kind of all over the place. But for whoever it is, credit to them for making it. And it's a cool design, but personally, the verdict is not something we would suggest.
Yeah, stay away from this one. It's not really that helpful.
Yep, so there you go. I believe that's it. I mean, you have multiple examples we showed. I will put... what I'll try to do is blueprint this, export the blueprint string, and put it in the description in case you do want to play with it or try to fix it or use it if you want to take the risk. But yeah, so it will be in the description, a blueprint string to use this. And there you go. Any last thoughts, Zuri?
No, I'll just be sure to remove all the extra wires I added so that it's ready for export.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, there you go. As always, thanks for watching. We hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or submissions, also leave them in the comments. We definitely are still wanting some submissions. They can be anything you want. And until next time, we will catch you later.
Later.